Welcome to the Entrepreneur Podcast, a guide to fast casual fortunes. You got co-host me, Brandon Haught, and Joe Collin here.
Howdy.
Hey guys, this is our second one. We're ready to bring you some
One in the can, two ready to go.
Ready to go. Here we go, guys. So last I don't know if you heard our last podcast, but we took a deep dive into how Nom Nom Ninja got started. And we went into some intricacies about how we handle some things and like how we got things going, and now we want to start taking these podcasts into more specified directions. So we want to target today probably menus. That's one of the biggest things that we want to cover today. And then obviously I'm a little long-winded, so there's a few other things that we could probably hit up. But
if you ever need to get something done, don't take Brandon with you. You'll spend 45 minutes talking to every person.
I'll make it interesting, but yeah, the job's going to take a little longer than you planned.
Like a day.
Like a day. So, yeah. So starting out, man, any food truck or any restaurant, fast casual.
Yeah, first step
would be a menu.
Menus. What are you going to sell?
It's got to be a menu.
Right.
So, but there's a lot that goes into it. It's not just like, oh, here's what I'm selling. Here's a price.
Burgers,
yeah. I mean,
$10.
Exactly. Just throw numbers, throw it at the wall, see what sticks.
Right.
No, there's actually formulas, right?
Right. Yeah, absolutely.
So I'm not really sure how we came up with our prices to begin with.
I think we're just like as cheap as possible to sell some of these things.
Yeah, we definitely took that strategy, throw it at the wall and see what sticks.
Yeah, and I'm willing to bet we made no money.
Yeah.
We probably maybe a little bit. Yeah. Probably broke about even.
Well, the difference is too, we touched a little bit on yesterday's strategy. The good thing about us in the beginning is we were working it, so we didn't have to be super profitable or put a little bit of money in our pockets. You know what I mean?
Right.
So like thinking about today, our food truck's out in the middle of the winter, and we have employees, right? We have employees. We know our food costs now, which took a while. We figured it out, so we know our food costs now.
Math was not our strong suit. We were dividing divisors.
Right.
I don't know what we're doing, but we were wrong for a long time.
Yeah. But we figured out what we need to do to break even, right? What we need to break even and what we need to do to make money.
And we structured that based on eventually without us being on it full time.
Yeah.
What we needed to be price point wise with employees going out every day, figured that cost into it.
Fuel.
Everything. Yeah.
Yeah. So I mean, I'm just going to share it. I'm just going to be, transparent about it is, it's for us to even break even with employees and food costs and being within an hour of home, we have to do like $700 a day
to break even.
Yeah. That's just to break it even, start back at zero.
Yeah.
So obviously when we talk about, if we ever do talk about numbers, keep that in mind, is that it's going to be different. Each circumstance is going to be different.
If you're running yourself, you're one-man show.
Yeah. One-man show.
That number's way different.
And then profitability too.
Sure.
I mean, so that's what you got to think about is your food costs and your operational costs when you start coming up with these menus.
Right. And if you get that solid number, okay, $700. Now you can work backwards from that. You're only going to have so many people.
Yep.
Say you're going to serve 50, 60 customers. Now, okay, if I'm serving 50 customers, I have to be at $15.
Yeah.
A pop to get there.
To break even.
Yep.
Yeah. And
so that's something we figured out real quick. Our price points were so low. And we sold a lot of them. We're going, hey, we're selling a boatload of these things.
Yeah.
But we're not making any money.
Yeah.
So we realized there's only a couple ways to change that variable, and it was to move the prices up. And we fought about it every single time.
Yeah, we did.
We moved to 50 cents and we had a week-long conversation.
Well, dude, I recall the very first day that we ever changed our sizes. And it was your idea. And you're like, dude, maybe we should do an extra large size. And I was super hesitant, to be honest with you. I was like, man, we're doing these, 6-inch wraps, 8-inch wraps. And I was like, I just can't see anybody buying a 10-inch wrap. Our first size up was actually a 10-inch wrap.
Yeah.
And we were at a car dealership. I think it was in Freeland. And I was like, man, I don't know how this is going to go. But I was there. I was actually on the truck at that time. And I was like, let's try it out. So I threw on double XL burritos. And sure enough, man, those were our number one sellers. Yeah. And back then, that was a 10-inch. Yeah. And now our standard size is a 10-inch.
Right.
And then a 12-inch. So, I mean, don't be afraid to try it, man, because I was hesitant.
You're going to find out pretty quickly. You get that feedback. And if you don't sell any, that's a pretty clear answer. But it's always worth trying it out. Now, for us to move our prices now, it's, we've had the same prices for a year now, year and a half. It's a little bit different game. But when you're starting off, you can move it around as you need to.
Yeah, but really, it's also looking at those percentages too, you know.
Yeah.
So really, rule of thumb. I mean, restaurants. You own a restaurant. Rule of thumb: you take the cost of your food and you multiply it by 3, right?
Right.
Right. So
that's where you want to be.
That's where you want. You don't want your food cost to be any more than 30%.
No.
And you know, and I mean that's still up there. I mean, there's guys. It depends on what you're selling too. I mean, you really got to take your product into consideration.
Right.
I mean, you're selling shaved ice. Shaved ice is 10 times. You know what I mean? Usually.
Yeah, your different confectionaries and ice cream stuff like that. So your numbers are way up there percentage wise, but
you're just not going to have that large amount of money either, though.
Right.
Yeah.
And you know, we ran into that a couple times. We had a nitro drink trailer that we gave a whirl, and the numbers we were doing decent with it, but you can only sell so many $3-4
exactly
drinks.
Yeah.
You know, so this didn't meet our needs for how we operate. But again, that goes into what is your operation? Are you a one-man show? Are you looking to have multiple units?
Yeah.
You know, all things to consider.
And then I actually just had a conversation again yesterday with another food truck owner. The one I brought him up, so he's thinking about switching concepts, but his concept is a lower price range. And so, you know, he's like, man, so he's like, I won't have those big numbers like you guys. Like he used to work for us, so he knows our numbers. And, you know, and I was like, well, I put it in perspective. Like, man, to make $500, we got to sell $1,500 to $2,000.
Right.
If it's just you out there working, you could probably sell 1,000 and make $500. So you could do half of your price point could be half of ours, or you could sell half as many with that profit margin.
Yep.
So, you know, that's something you got to think about, you know, and then I've also had, I've had like, you know, 3 or 4 trucks reach out to me to look at their menus. And so, I mean, the menu is really a selling point for you. You got to utilize that as a sales tool.
Yeah.
You know,
after doing this for a while, we can look at a menu pretty quickly and see, I mean, majority of the time I'm telling people to up their prices.
Yeah.
You don't feel comfortable with doing that. You know, especially starting off, you think you're too expensive, but if you put it in perspective, go out to eat anywhere, you're spending $40-50 easily. So people are accustomed to higher prices, and you're doing a custom item for them. You know? So you have a little bit of a premium to work with.
Yeah, you have to give yourself some credit, right? Like, you have to give yourself some credit for one. It's the prices you need to operate.
Yeah,
you can't be shorting yourself, because here's the thing: you short yourself, people are going to expect those prices for one. But for two, I mean, you're not going to be able to operate long term. I mean, that's why most restaurants go out in the first 1 to 3 years, right?
Right.
Because like your price point, you gotta take everything into consideration, even the unknowns. I mean, think about repairs and maintenance and insurances and things like that. You got a lot of costs to cover.
Right.
And then you need to make money or it's not worth it, right?
Yeah. You're going out just for the heck of it, which gets old pretty quick.
We can tell you that.
Yeah. That game's fun for a minute.
Yeah.
And once you can't pay your bills again, the fun runs out.
And, you know, and that's one thing that we do differently. I mean, a lot of people see our growth as exponential, but we don't put a lot of money in our own pockets, you know. So
very little.
And that goes back to our strategy. You know, we could be skimming money off the company anytime we want, but at the same time, we know that that'll slow down our growth tremendously.
Yeah, we've had the luxury of positioning ourselves where we can put it all back into growth.
Yeah.
And we understand, you know, not everybody's going to be that way. Some people are making a living off this. So definitely take that into consideration. If this is your main source of income, you have to have your prices to allow you to live off that.
You do.
So, and that goes back to when you're creating your menu, when you're coming up with your items, know that you want products that you can, you know, sell a lot of, but make money on too.
Yeah.
You know, if you're selling $10 ribeyes, you're going to sell a boatload of them, but you're going to go broke quick. So make sure your price point aligns with, you know, income off of it too.
Yeah, exactly. So. And honestly, man, our menu has evolved as much as any other aspect in our business.
Yeah,
as our business personally, like we talked about in the last episode, we had one menu item, you know, and you know what I've learned through that is I get a lot of feedback, and I think, you know, that's the most important thing. You know, you can be partial to, and that's what I do see. People get partial to their menus.
They fall in love with it.
They do. They fall in love with their menu. They fall in love with their products, you know, but that doesn't translate well into the customer, you know, falling in love with it.
Yeah.
And that's one of the hardest things, I think, to let go of,
especially for, you know, these very good cooks, you know, chefs, they have a hard time ever stepping on, you know, they just want top of the line quality, the best of everything, and which is great to offer. But if you can't get that out in a timely fashion and have it meet your price points that you need, then it doesn't mean a whole lot.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah, that's more like a hobby. I mean,
Right.
really, that's what it's going to be.
Yep.
And
So don't feel bad to for one, price where you need to be, but also make sure you're serving a product you're proud of, but it can't always be fillets and lobster.
Yeah.
And sometimes it's got to be according to the crowd you're working.
And unfortunately, that results in a lot of times the best chefs and the best cooks go out of business.
Yeah, they get they get very attached to that, and the lucky part of Brandon doesn't have a whole lot of food background. Just to put this out there,
I'll be honest with you, pretty much zero.
Yeah,
other than a barbecue food truck.
But he thinks so far outside of the box because of that. He's not within a structure that allowed us to try a lot of things that were maybe a little bit off the wall and be unique and not be in a single mindset of what to do.
Yeah.
But how about adding on quick items, grab and goes, like cheesecakes? What did those do for us?
Yeah, exactly. So, I mean, it goes back to that price point. That helped us raise our average ticket. It allows us to, produce that higher number that we need. But at the same time, we don't actually make as much money off of those, right? Those aren't as profitable for us. Those things that are ready to go that we can just pick up, it's always what I found out. If you're going to add an item, let there be a purpose behind it,
right?
Let it complement your main dish,
exactly,
and then also work local, which we found much success in.
Yeah,
we work with a few local companies. I mean, I'll go ahead and shout them out. Let's give them a shout out.
Okay.
So I mean, we started off with Max and Emily's. They were amazing to work with. They had to end up moving their locations for their handmade cheesecakes. So we do cheesecakes as a dessert. And then we went to Grand Traverse.
What's cool about Max and Emily's? We go all over the state, and we'd hear people everywhere.
Yeah.
Recognize the name.
Yeah.
So, it's funny. They're a small local business. They're about a block away from us, and we hear the name all over the state, which is very cool to see.
We do, yeah. And they've been around since the 70s, I think. Yeah. So they're doing something right. And I mean, you can tell the quality of their product.
Yeah, it's very good.
It is. It's amazing. And we really want to stick with them. Like I said, they had to relocate and they weren't ready for us, and our customers were demanding cheesecakes.
Right, yeah.
And then so we have another good, really good relationship with the Grand River Brewery. They're actually a bakery, and they make us exclusive flavors. So, I mean, that's what's kind of hard to beat. The relationship we have now, they're willing to deliver. They opened up a bakery segment. We were one of their first customers.
Right.
The first customers to do their cheesecakes and to resell them. They're so awesome to work with. So, and people know their name too, especially in the Jackson area and surrounding areas.
Right.
They're pretty well established.
And back to the custom flavors, I'm kind of a very straightforward, where Brandon's maybe a little more creative. And with the custom flavors, I'm like, okay, they're custom, whatever. But it really is a great marketing strategy. If you have something that's unique to you, you have a local company making it for you, you can really market that. You can, put out, this is our product.
Yeah.
And that goes a long way. So that's another thing to think about when you're doing these things. Really focus on, if you can, say we have a local product. It's made for us. And you can set yourself apart a little bit more with that as well.
You can. I mean, it's advertising, and it's exclusive to you. And I mean, I think we even got a deal in place right now that if anybody else wanted to retail our flavors, they have to come through us.
No.
So it's an amazing deal, And then also another company that we work with in the summertime is Icebox Brands. And I'm talking, those are like one of the best handcrafted ice creams.
The biggest problem with those?
Yeah.
They don't stay in our freezer somehow at our shop here.
Somehow they disappear. Before they get to the truck.
Yeah. So
that is a problem.
My mom and dad take frequent trips down here, and things disappear. That stuff is amazing, though.
Yeah. So they're awesome to work with too. They got these handmade ice cream bars, and they also do like some other popsicles and things like that. So I mean, work with somebody local, preferably someone that has a well-built name and brand, something that you can kind of like that complements you, though. You know what I'm saying? And people support local like crazy. I mean, which is awesome. I mean, we're local. We're still a local truck, and small businesses can continue to use that support. So work with somebody to add that average ticket. So we're looking at your average ticket.
Mm-hmm.
What can you add to it to raise that average ticket?
When you think about this, burgers and fries.
Yeah.
Those fries are an add-on, a couple dollars, but it's quick for a burger truck to do.
Yeah.
Where if you're doing, burgers and another entree, well, people aren't going to order 2 entrees. They're not going to get a burger and a wrap.
Yeah.
But they will get a burger and fries, or a burger and cheesecake. So that add-on item is a way to get those ticket prices up. It's something that can be quick and easy, and it's not competing with your your main items.
And that's why we don't make as much off of them, right? I mean, we're really storing these things, and so they are taking up, square footage. They're taking up on our units.
Ooh, that's another good topic to go down.
Yeah,
we'll get there in a second.
We'll get there. Yeah. So the square foot. I mean, so really, we don't got a lot of time and prep time, so we take that into consideration. So on those type of items, I know we got this 30% rule, but it doesn't always equate to those things that are already prepared for us.
Yeah, I think your add-ons can be a little bit less, especially if you have almost no time into them.
Yeah.
If they're not taking up any labor, it's basically grabbing something, handing out. You can move those numbers a little bit.
Yeah. So keep that in mind too, guys. Like if somebody's working with you, a local company, and you can't 3 times your money on it, I mean, I think 2 times is a good value. You know what I mean? So if you can at least 2 times your money on it,
especially if you're getting those out, 60, 70% of the time.
Yeah.
Now it's just a value add every time you're doing it.
Yeah.
Yep.
And so
you can almost look at it as adding $1.50 or $2 in profit to every rack.
To every ticket. Yeah. And that adds up. I mean, here's the thing, guys, you got to start thinking incremental.
Yeah.
I mean, you're talking 50 cents, dollars, whatever, because
it all adds up.
It adds up. By the end of the year, you'll notice a huge difference.
And that's both ways, though.
It is.
Your cost, 50 cents here and there, $1 here and there.
Yeah.
It adds up. It bites you in the butt if you're not paying attention to that.
I mean, me and you, we've narrowed it down to ounces.
Yeah.
Like how much we'll spend per ounce on rice or our proteins or things like that, and how much we can save over the year.
Yeah, because it's going to add up. When you start I worked with a guy last week. He helped install a piece on our truck. He's building his own truck. And that's what I kind of explained to him. You're thinking about numbers maybe being a little bit conservative, but those go high quickly. And when you're talking about serving, a couple thousand people, 50 cents a dollar equates to, $1,000, $2,000 pretty quickly. So those little incremental differences go a long ways.
Yeah.
That's like the Ray Kroc. That's the McDonald's method.
Yeah.
Just add on a little bit here and there, and it adds up big time.
Yeah, look how successful they are.
Yeah.
It's true. And then, so when you're looking at a menu, really, too, you got to think about how many items you're offering, right?
Yep. So that goes back to the square footage. A part of that is you're on let's face it, we're not in restaurants.
Yeah.
We have very limited storage. On our unit, we have, maybe one way to store all of our product, and it takes up a good square footage on there.
Yeah.
So you have to take that into consideration. How many people are you looking to serve?
Yeah. How many? Yeah.
If you want to serve, 500 people, you're not going to have a lot of menu items.
Right.
You just don't have the space for it.
You don't. Yeah. All that's got to be taken into consideration when we're just talking about a menu here.
Right.
So, I mean, all this has got to be in the back of your mind when you're creating this menu.
Do you think a menu is the place to start this whole thing? Put your menu together before you even start anything else?
I mean, yeah, between that and product, you know what I mean? Like, what am I selling first? Maybe, but maybe not. I mean, maybe if that product doesn't work within that menu, you don't sell it. So I think menu is definitely the first place to start.
I think when we started, our first thought was, how can we serve a lot of people at the concerts?
Yeah.
That was kind of where, fast. Yeah. How can we do that fast? So, up there with menu is understanding what you're going to be doing.
Yeah.
That's
exactly.
If you're planning on doing, we go to events and we see some of these guys that can, I don't throw out crazy numbers, but they do $30,000-$40,000 in a couple of days, and it's amazing to watch.
It is.
But that's what they're set up for. They have,
and that's what they strategized around, right?
Yeah, exactly.
I mean, from day one, they knew that's what they wanted to do.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're set up. They want to be able to go out different spot every day of the week. It takes them a day to set up.
Yeah.
But within those couple of days they're set up, they'll knock out what we'll do in a week.
Exactly. And that is what's nice about us, is that we're able to get up and move. We're really actually, we're mobile. I mean, we go to 2 different spots a day, and I mean, we've done 3 spots in a day before, and we get up and go. And I do hear that's a struggle for some people. And so, that method's not going to work for everybody, and you got to figure out what's going to work for you,
Yeah. So along with figuring out your strategy, I think goes along with have your strategy, maybe formed around your menu. So, figure out your strategy, how you want to operate, and then maybe come up with a menu to accommodate it.
Yeah. I mean, so one of the things that kind of kind of hurt us. I mean, I was super excited, and maybe not a lot of people know about this, but we've got offered to do some killer stadiums, some venues.
Yeah, so I mean,
some pro NFL stadiums, college stadiums, and
I don't think you have to be coy about it. There's
Yeah,
only
yeah.
one NFL team
That's
in
true.
the state.
That is true.
Yeah.
But I just don't know how many people know about that. But we as much as we wanted to, me and you were so hyped about that opportunity. We got to go down and check out the stadium.
Yeah, it was pretty
And
cool.
they offered us. I mean, the kitchen, everything in the kitchen sink. Yeah.
That was the craziest conversation. We go down there like, okay, we got to sell these guys.
Yeah.
What we can do. We walk in there like, okay, this is where you guys are gonna be setting up at.
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
Hold on, what?
They told us it's the number one spot in the stadium,
Yeah.
right inside the entrance. They also have quick stops, so we're talking about Ford Field. And but here's the thing: as much as we wanted to do this, our menu was not right for it.
No, our menu, it although we can be quick, we really don't make enough to accommodate paying a large percentage to a venue.
Yeah.
And that's something that when you're starting off, probably not a thought. And we probably never thought we'd have an opportunity to be there.
Yeah, never. Yeah.
So, back to, think big sometimes. If you have a game plan of, hey, I want to be in stadiums.
Yeah.
You're going to have to figure out how to be 4 or 5 times your money.
At least. And then on top of that, holding. That was that was one of our biggest struggles. Holding, like in the beginning, we weren't doing things. We've learned to be fresher and quicker and better. But we can hold our food for Serve Safe says we can hold our food for about 4 hours at the right temperature. But our food
loses a lot of quality in that time. Yeah.
Our food loses quality, 1 to 2 hours, and that's as much as we want to hold anything. So we're tossing things twice as fast as we need to. But quality is important to us, and we couldn't have that quality at that stadium.
No, it's going to be hard to maintain. I mean, you can only hold so much of one of those stations, and you're sending your guy, your girl, a couple 100 yards into the bowels of the stadium during the middle of a game to try to get more product.
Right.
But these are all things to, and that goes back to where we were maybe smart about stuff, because that's something that is an amazing opportunity. We felt crazy saying no to it, but you have to talk through it. Okay, is this really going to benefit us, or is this a advertising play? Are we just doing this to get our name out there and maybe we make a couple dollars? But these are things you have to start considering. Saying yes to everything's nice, but you can get yourself in trouble really quick.
Yeah. And you want to be able to deliver,
Yeah.
And that's us always. We don't want to overpromise and underdeliver.
Yeah.
And so when we're looking at our menu, we start off with one item. I know that's not what everybody's not gonna be in that same boat, all right?
It's probably not ideal.
Yeah, it's not ideal to start off one item. But here's the thing. You probably really don't want to be over 3 to 5 items on your menu.
No, I mean entree wise.
Yeah. Entree wise. Yeah.
Yeah. And depending on your speed, there's a lot of products people can do you can do pizza so fast, and really you're just offering different toppings.
Yeah.
So, it depends on what your focus is, what your, idea, your theme is. And then if you can be quick, then you can add maybe more. But we touched on this yesterday. It's not only about how fast you can serve.
Yeah.
It's about how fast the customer can make a decision.
Right.
So if you have 5 items, now they're asking you questions about all 5. And again, it's only a minute maybe per customer, but you times that by 500. And now you ended up adding.
And you're missing a lot of sales.
Yeah.
People are going to walk away.
Yep. I mean, lines are good. That's something we fought about for a while. You get a line and our guys get nervous because we knock a line up quick, but lines draw crowds. Mm-hmm. So there's a fine line to play there.
Yeah.
You don't necessarily want to eliminate your line very quickly, but you don't want it getting out of control either.
Exactly.
Yep.
Yeah. So 3 to 5 items I feel is ideal. And I mean, and try to replicate what you're already using, right? Try to reuse those ingredients. Like ours is rice and all 3, and then we just add different proteins.
Yeah.
And and if you can be creative with some of this stuff. I mean,
there's 30 different things you can do with chicken.
Yeah.
That is a very good point. Have a lot of your menu items play off each other.
Exactly. That'll cut down on your space. That'll cut down on your time. Cut down on a lot of preparation because it's already prepped. It's just a different way to mix things.
Yep.
So honestly, like that's probably one of my biggest pieces of advice is, maybe it's only 3 or 5 ingredients in a menu, and you create your menu from that.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Stop adding things. You know what I mean? Like things that aren't playing in all aspects.
Well, work it down to what's maybe start with 6 products, but
go
out, have those 6, and you'll know very quickly. Depending on what kind of point of sale system you use, Ours breaks down each item, how much we sold, and you can look at those numbers and figure out what's making the most sense for us.
Yeah.
Don't be afraid to eliminate what's not making sense.
Yep, there you go. I mean, if you give it a month, 2 months, 3 months, do a seasonal thing, but eliminate those things that aren't selling. You'll have good numbers. Keep track of your numbers. I mean, we use Square right now. We've used different point of sale systems, but it allows us to see our account, and it allows us to see exactly what we're able to sell and how much we're selling.
I don't know. Maybe this is bad. We're not as obsessive every day going in and looking at our numbers.
Not as we used to be.
No, it's starting off. We were every day looking at those and seeing where we can improve, and that helped a lot with our analytics for getting bigger wraps. We were selling a ton of wraps.
Yeah,
and it just seemed like we
Thousands.
were moving the needle.
Yeah,
you know?
yeah.
And it made us realize, okay, there's only one other way to up that number. We got to change this mini price. The product had proved itself. We were selling a lot of them. People kept coming back, so now we had to play around with setting a correct price point for it.
Yeah. Yeah, and the final thing I want to talk about on the menu is presentation, right?
Sure.
You know how many times, like even we started off on the, not doing things exactly like we should have, but a lot of times you'll see a menu and it'll be just words, right?
Oh yeah,
yeah, just words, and people have tons of questions.
Throw it away.
Yeah, throw it away. And then I've even heard people tell me just even recently, like, you're not supposed to have money signs on your menus.
Yeah, that's an old school trick.
We don't play. We actually don't go that route, but I mean that's a good piece of advice.
Yep.
You can study into that kind of stuff, but really to me the key basics of the menu should be pictures. You should be able to have some kind of pictures to show people what they're eating. Right?
Sure.
I mean, they want to know what they're buying into, and they want to know, especially if you're a new product.
People eat with their eyes first.
Eat with their eyes first, exactly. Yeah. So you want to have pictures, and you want to have if you can fit it in there, you want to have a short description. I would say, like ours is pretty blunt. You know what I mean? It's pretty straightforward. Ours is hibachi chicken and rice. You know what I mean? Hibachi steak and rice and things like that. So you if you got any kind of creative names that don't really tell you what's in it, I would definitely have some kind of short description, but those pictures are gonna help you sell itself. So
yeah, and they carry over to your social.
Yeah,
they carry over to creating that draw, and people when they can look at something very quickly and get an idea of what they're getting into.
Yeah,
that helps out a lot.
Yeah,
especially like say you're doing an event with multiple trucks, people are gonna make decisions based off of what they see.
Yeah,
they'll see people walking around with food. That brings it actually to another point. How do we advertise once it's in somebody's hand? Are they advertising for us?
Yeah.
We
went to branded papers.
Yep. So, people walk around, you're doing these big events, they see the wrap and they can see the paper. Just everybody will pick up on that.
Yeah.
You don't think about those things when you're maybe in it.
Yeah.
But when you go to an event and you walk around, that's a nice thing about us not being on trucks.
Yeah.
We can go to an event, walk around and see, what's working.
Yeah. And then you try to figure out where that food came from.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And 90% of the trucks, you don't know.
Right.
You know what I mean? So like, I think us having that branding paper makes it, especially when you're at a casino event and there's somebody else selling regular burritos and they look just like our wraps. You know what I mean? I've actually had people come up to me and say, "Oh, I went to the wrong one. That looked, kind of looked like yours."
Yeah.
So really that branded paper points people back to you, which is what you want,
Yeah. I'm thinking if you're a burger truck.
Yeah.
And, whether you're putting a clamshell or whatever, if you have a sticker on there or something that just shows your business.
Yeah.
That goes a long ways to creating some more traffic.
No joke, man. And I think this guy worked for the casino, but I've literally had a guy tell me that he's looked in the trash can and the thing that was in there that stood out the most was our wrap papers.
You would never think like I would never. Well, Brandon thinks like that.
Yeah.
I don't at all.
But he's like, I can tell that you guys are probably doing better than most of these vendors because of how much of your stuff I see.
Yeah, and that could just be perception because everybody else on there is on branded. So it might be the same amount of, whatever clamshells in there from another vendor that you don't know who that is.
Exactly.
So
yeah, it's little things like that I do think
it
about.
Is. Know what I mean? That's where starting off, you're just so excited just to get out there when there's a lot of small things you can do to improve your perception, to draw some interest.
Yeah.
And branding is a big one.
Yeah.
Which we'll probably do a whole podcast.
Yeah. We could do a whole episode on branding. And I mean, that's part of your strategy too. So, but yeah, guys, like, this is our second podcast, our second episode. Our first one is digging into how we got started, some things that you could prevent, some things, that you can expect really when you're starting out. But moving forward, like I said, we're going to deep dive into specific topics. And if you find anything valuable in this, I mean, if there's anything that's helped you guys at all, know that there's other trucks out there looking for the same info. We would appreciate if you guys,
reach out, tell us what you want to hear. Ask questions. We're super open to that. We're very excited to go down that road and help some people out. We've maybe on accident mentored a couple people.
Yeah, right.
It's the most enjoyable thing ever. You know, watching, giving somebody a little tidbit and watch them run with it and seeing it work. It's maybe one of the coolest things.
Yeah, and the best way to really get this out there to people, is to share it for us. You guys can review it. Reviews are huge for us. Any kind of ratings on our podcast. Right now we're on Apple, Amazon, and Spotify. If you could follow us too, that's going to give us more exposure. So following us, rating us. We're just trying to get the word out there, guys, and help as many trucks as possible. And you guys are a big part of that too. I know a lot of trucks that are listening. A lot of people that are listening to this right now are food truck owners.
Mm-hmm.
We got a group specifically for food truck owners, the Entrepreneur Group, and the page and things like that. And then obviously we're food truckers ourselves at heart, guys. And we just want to see everybody be successful. And I believe that any of you guys could be. There's certain stats you guys got to figure out your own path, but I think we got some stuff that's universal.
Sure. Yeah. So wrapping that up. When you're thinking about your menu, keep it simple. Don't get married to it.
Yeah.
Be willing to change and think about how you're going to serve. If you're going to be doing big crowds or private caterings, and don't be afraid to price yourself appropriately.
And don't be afraid to say no, right?
Absolutely.
Don't take everything. If it doesn't fit your system,
it doesn't work.
It may not be worth the risk. I mean, you might want to risk it, but figure out that
if it doesn't make sense, it doesn't make dollars.
Yeah.
And there's no way around it.
Yeah. And so one last thing too, guys, I got a question for you. If you guys could answer this question, you can message me maybe in the group, leave a comment. This will be on YouTube too, so you can like and subscribe to us. We'd really appreciate it. But our last episode wasn't edited. It was completely raw, real. We don't edit anything. Really, it takes a lot of time.
If you see us sniffing our nose, it's about as cold in our building as it is outside.
Yeah,
so
exactly.
I have gloves on. Just to put it out there.
Not much insulation. So I want to know what you guys want to hear. Do you guys want us to edit these things? Do you want to hear raw, real? Do you just want to hear our conversations? To me, I mean, this might be a little deep, but the entrepreneurship life in general is too edited to me.
Yeah.
Like you see success.
You don't see the errors.
Yeah. You go on LinkedIn, you see Forbes. All you see is the mountaintop, right?
Yep.
The peak. And you don't see what everybody goes through. You don't see the struggles.
There's nobody up there that hasn't had a boatload of mistakes.
Yeah.
Yep.
And I don't want that. I don't want you guys to think we have a flawless pot. I mean, this is how we live. This is how we talk. There's no scripts or anything like that. And I want you guys to
we said this would be 15 minutes.
Yeah, exactly.
Just put it out there.
So we don't go by rules or guidelines, man. We're just here to share what we've been through, and hopefully it helps one of you guys.
Yeah. I can't wait to hear from somebody.
Yeah, me too.
With a question or maybe looking for some advice.
Yeah. So let us know. Do you want us to edit it? Do you like it raw? What do you want to hear, guys? You want to hear the footage? We're gonna take you, like Joe said last time. We're gonna have a podcast on just mess ups. I mean, half of our entrepreneurship life is mess ups, and what you can gain from that. So we want to hear from you guys. We want you to follow us and subscribe and like and share. And then most of all, we want to know, if it's impacting you, and if there's anything else that we can do for you guys. So, all right, guys, follow us, man.
Have a good one.
Yep. See ya.